fear none.
Into the upper deck.
Intensity is not a curfew.
Oh, mercy.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You are looking down upon Oriole Park at Camden Yards, the ballpark that forever changed baseball. A little bit of clouds overhead. But don't worry, that sun's going to be out later on today, just about 4.5 hours from first pitch between the Orioles and the Indians here at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Big 3-game series this weekend, and now you're looking at me. Hi, I'm Paul Mancano, host of MASN All Access. We've got a good show for you today. Let's start with this 3-game series going on between the Orioles and the Indians this weekend, beginning at 7:05 tonight. It's Mike Clevenger going up against John Means. Means returning from the IL. It's his first start since returning from the IL, and he's going up against Clevenger. Almost identical ERAs between these two guys. Means, since coming back from the IL, it's his first start before the IL trip. He went at least 5 innings and allowed 3 or fewer runs in each of his last 8 starts. He's been the most consistent starter for the Orioles. Clevenger, on the other hand, he's recently returned from an injury as well. Had a back injury that led to a lengthy IL trip for him. It's his second start since returning from the IL. He got hit around by the Rangers last week. So it's Means against Clevenger tonight, starting at 7:05, and our coverage begins on MASN 2 starting at 6:30. Now on Tuesday, July 2nd, that's the beginning of a brand new international signing period. And for the first time in franchise history, the Orioles, they're going to be major players in that signing period. I had a chance to talk to Director of International Scouting, Koby Perez, about just how important this signing period is going to be. Take a look. And now we welcome into MASN All Access on the phone, currently overseas, Koby Perez, who is the Director of International Scouting for the Baltimore Orioles. Koby, thank you so much for joining us. Now, you took over this job back on January 2nd, and before you took over, the Orioles really didn't have much of a history in terms of international scouting. How much of an uphill battle did you face as you revamped your own department?
Well, I think, most of the challenges were basically just letting, the whole industry know that we're now going to be players in the game. Earlier, Orioles were having trouble seeing the better players just because, we weren't spending money, so they preferred bringing them to other teams. So I think part of the challenge was just letting everyone know that we'll now be players, and I think we should have access to all players going forward.
You were a part of teams that were big players in terms of the international market before this. You were with the Cardinals, then the Phillies, and the Indians. How much did your work and your groundwork with those other teams, making connections and contacts, how much did that help when you took over with the Orioles?
It helped tremendously just because, working for those 3 clubs, I had a lot of dealings with different agents and trainers throughout Latin America and internationally. So, basically, these guys know who I am, and, as well as Mike, being that he also did some international work. So, those guys are familiar with the way we do business and are eager to show us the players.
And Mike Elias has talked about how this is a process that takes a good amount of time. The groundwork has to be laid oftentimes years in advance. For this particular signing period, when you took over in January, how much of your work was focused on this signing period beginning on July 2nd, and how much was focused on future classes?
I would say, working in international, you got to focus on the future classes as well as the current classes, because there's late bloomers that you got to stay on, and people that pop up, and kids coming out of Cuba that come on. So you can't take away from that, but you have to definitely focus on the future classes. For example, today, I just saw a kid that's eligible for 2021. So my first report will be in there, and all our information will start from now. But the way international works, you got to make sure you get that done quickly because he can come off the board.
And I think something that goes underrated in terms of the international scouting is just how many prospects and kids there are out there. Almost 1,000 signed every season. How do you keep track of that many prospects, and how does your office and your department keep track of the kids that are all over the world that you're attempting to sign?
Yeah, well, fortunately, our scouts do a good job of, trying to put together the information through reports and video to be able to, make better decisions once we compile all the information for the classes. I think it's not easy. It's very difficult. There's players all over the world, and we put in a lot of days and on the road. As you can tell, I'm overseas now, but the work it's difficult, and it's not easy to get all the information. But you do the best you can, and you get try and put together the best class you can.
Now, turning our attention to this particular signing period, the Orioles are one of 8 teams with almost $6.5 million to spend. And of course, your job is determining the best way to spend that money. For this particular class, did you see this as a class where your money is best spent on a few guys at the top and centering most of your money there? Or did you see it more as a class to spread the money out amongst numerous different prospects?
Yeah, I think in this class here, in the situation we were given coming in so late, the best chance that we had, the best opportunity that we felt was spreading the money around. We're going to sign about 30 guys here coming up on July 2nd. And, we feel really good about the players we're signing. But many of those high-end, top-ranked prospects have been spoken for, many of them for over a year now. So, the situation we were in, we ended up spreading out the money just because it gives us the best opportunity at the best class.
That makes sense. Now, Mike Elias said that this will be the largest international signing period in Orioles history. Do you agree with that assessment?
I think so. We've done a good job. Fortunately, Mike, knew some players that he liked when he was with Houston that were still available. I knew some players that I liked when I was with the Indians that were still available. And fortunately, we were able to move quickly and, discuss the chances of those players signing with us. And they ended up, they'll end up working out here. So that along with some pitching that we feel that, got better towards getting closer to this date, we were able to attack those guys pretty quickly.
Well, you mentioned that you were expecting to sign around 30 guys on July 2nd. Obviously, a lot of the parameters of these deals are hammered out in the months and weeks before July 2nd. But now that July 2nd is just days away, what are the final steps as you get ready to finalize and announce these deals?
Yeah, I mean, all these deals are always pending, physicals and all that. But other than that, basically, we feel good about the talent. We think they're healthy. MLB does background work on these guys. So we make sure we're getting the person that we think we're getting. So it's mostly all ready to go here on J2.
Awesome. And with this opportunity being in front of you, is in terms of having that chance to bring in the largest international signing class that the Orioles have ever had, how exciting is that for you personally to be a part of something that is really getting started on a big scale this year?
I'm very excited. For the organization, for myself, and for the rest of our player development, because we're able to bring in some talent to help our farm system here. We're signing a lot of guys, and a lot of them will boost our system rankings in the future. And I think hopefully some of these guys can help us in the major league sooner rather than later. Even though we know that we're signing these kids so young that it's going to definitely take some time before they set foot in Oriole Park.
Well, your excitement is matched by Orioles fans as well. They've been looking forward to July 2nd for quite some time, and pretty much since you took over on January 2nd. So we really appreciate you, Koby Perez, joining us, Senior Director of International Scouting with the Baltimore Orioles. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Our thanks again to Koby Perez. Now, a lot happening at the Yard this week. The Orioles hosted a special performance on the Budweiser roof deck on Wednesday, featuring the music of Baltimore's own Bill McComiskey. Now, Bill is a National Heritage Fellow and a master of the Irish button accordion. He was joined by friends from Baltimore's distinguished traditional Irish music community. Take a look.
One thing that I really love about what we've done here today by bringing Billy and friends to Camden Yards is that, you know, music and dance traditions are passed generation to generation. They keep community identity together, they keep fellowship, and they create senses of place and just inspiration. And that is so much true of baseball, is that baseball similarly has kept families together, it's kept communities together, you know, it's the nation's pastime.
I like it a lot. That's why we walked up here, so trying to figure out where the music was coming from. Commenting to my wife on the way up here that I feel like they've tried to add a lot of things this year to add fun to your experience. But yeah, we were both commenting about how great it is, and it has a different feel, and it's always great to come to Camden Yards. I mean, I think it's the best ballpark in the country, and I've been to a good bit of them.
But I'd have to say I love coming down to Camden Yards, and I relate to the Orioles. They give it their very best. We can relate to them on a very human level. This is the opportunity of a lifetime.
Yesterday, Chris Davis and his wife Jill hosted the 3rd annual Crushes Homers for Hearts Home Run Derby. The event benefited the Children's Heart Program and the University of Maryland Children's Hospital. Once again, it was a rousing success. Here are some of the highlights.
Crushes Homers for Hearts.
It's our 3rd year.
3rd year.
Noelle is 3 and Tessa is almost 17 months. Tessa was born with a congenital heart disease and got a heart transplant in February. So she just got home a month ago, and Noelle is loving having her baby sister home.
All the dollars raised in this event are going to go to help the children of Maryland.
A year later, to have her out and at this event is just, you can't even believe it. She's only been home for a month, so it's crazy. We're so happy.
It's just cool to get to know them and learn about their story, learn about some of the challenges they face on a day-to-day basis, but also to see how resilient they are.
And we're just hopeful that our partnership and this event will help, you know, support the world-class care that this hospital gives to these patients.
It's changed our perspective, not only having kids, but having to go through that experience. And like Jill said, it was just a small glimpse of what some of these kids have to go through, but it's still enough to scare you as a parent. So anything that we can do to help these kids, maybe ease their way or bring a little bit of notoriety to the hospital, we're all in.
Chris and Jill are not just sponsoring this event for us. They come to the hospital. They provide equipment that is desperately needed without asking. When they come through the hospital, everybody's better. We need these visitors to come through and just help us with the kids on a day-to-day basis.
That event is always awesome. Now, the Birdland Summer Music Series includes the Friday Fireworks and Women of Country Music Series, which feature post-game on-field performances from emerging female country artists following the 7 Friday home games through August 23rd, in partnership with Change the Conversation, a nonprofit organization which fights gender inequality in the music industry. Friday Fireworks and Women of Country Music is part of the Orioles' year-long celebration of women's equality and girls' empowerment. Now, Tierra is the performer tonight. She's a talented young singer-songwriter from Alabama, and our very own Amy Jennings caught up with her in the Orioles dugout earlier this afternoon. Take a look.
I'm here with Tierra, tonight's Birdland Summer Music Series performer. Tierra, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, so you recently moved to Nashville to pursue your singing and songwriting career, but when and where did you first get your start?
So I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, and I have always sang ever since I was little, and so I would perform at venues and stuff around town. And then I fell in love with country music, and I found out that Nashville was the spot for country music. So I would go up and visit with my family every now and again, and then we made the move about a year and a half ago. So.
That's so exciting. Yeah. And you've already made a name for yourself. You won your episode of USA Network's Real Country,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
Who invited you to perform on there?
Shania Twain, which was freaking insane because I love her. I actually have a cover of me singing one of her songs, like when I first started YouTube. It's very embarrassing. Please don't go watch it. But it was just really surreal, like singing in front of her, like in real life. So it was a real honor. It was fun, yeah.
So now what's it like, having somebody like Shania Twain believing in you, believing in your career?
It means a lot. I mean, especially since she's a person that I've looked up to whenever I first started doing music, and just to hear like all of the encouraging words from her, it was amazing because, I mean, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, and she does it so well. So it was amazing.
Do you have any other women in country music that you look up to or maybe try to model your style after?
Yeah, so I love Dolly Parton. She is my absolute favorite, and obviously love like Carrie Underwood and Miranda Lambert, just all of the powerhouse women. I love them all.
And you actually perform with an all-female singer and songwriter showcase, correct?
Yes, yeah. So I perform with the Song Suffragettes, and it's a weekly, every Monday we do a writer's round at the Listening Room Cafe in Nashville, and they switch out the girls every Monday, so you get a different group of girls every week, and it's just a really great community. It was one of the first one of the first shows that I did whenever I moved to Nashville, and I've been writing and playing with all of those girls ever since, so it's been really great.
That's so awesome. Since you do something so cool like that, do you have any words of wisdom for young girls who might want to be in where you are today?
I would say to just keep going, because you're going to have a lot of people that are going to try and put you down and not really support you, and also to support other girls, because I mean we're all going through the same thing, and I feel like sometimes it can get really discouraging, so you have to believe in yourself and also lift others up as well.
All right, and last but not least, what can people look forward to tonight?
So I'm going to be singing the national anthem and a couple of my original songs.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Tierra.
Thank you for having me.
Tierra, tonight's Birdland Summer Music Series performer.
Thank you, Amy. Now, in addition to the Friday Fireworks and Women of Country Music series, the Orioles are also continuing the Saturday roof deck sessions for the 7 Saturday home games through August 24th. These sessions will feature pregame performances from both local artists and national acts on the Budweiser roof deck out in center field. These unique performances will be broadcast throughout the ballpark, while fans looking to get up close and personal with the performers can access the roof deck with any game ticket on a first-come, first-served basis. Special happy hour pricing on select beverages will be available exclusively on the roof deck from the time gates open until the scheduled first pitch. A complete lineup of artists and additional information on Saturday roof deck sessions can be found at Orioles.com/music. And Kevin Mack is performing tomorrow, a singer-songwriter from Virginia, so be sure to get your tickets for that game as well. Orioles and Indians. Now, before we go, don't forget we do have a podcast. Myself and Bobby Blanco are the two hosts. Yesterday's episode, is a recap of Adley Rutschman's introductory press conference. And we've also got O's radio broadcaster, Kevin Brown. We put him in a pickle. You can hear our podcast on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and the videos are streaming on the MASN All Access Facebook page, at MASN Orioles on Twitter. Just about anywhere you can find podcasts, you can find the MASN All Access podcast. That does it for MASN All Access. I'm your host, Paul Mancano. Don't forget, Orioles and Indians coverage starts at 6:30 tonight on MASN 2.